Could a supplement you keep in your nightstand really be blamed for heart failure when the research behind that claim isn't even peer-reviewed and misclassifies millions of users?
Welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. Stay informed with quick, easy-to-listen summaries of our latest articles, perfect for when you're on the go. No reading required. Subscribe for free at mercola.com for the latest health insights.
Hello, and welcome to Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. I'm Ethan Foster, and today we're taking a clear-eyed look at melatonin and heart health. You've seen the headlines suggesting long-term melatonin use raises heart failure risk. We're going to unpack what the data actually say and what you can do to support your own melatonin production naturally.
I'm Alara Sky. Let's set the stage. A preliminary analysis presented at the American Heart Association's Scientific Sessions 2025 linked a year or more of documented melatonin use with higher rates of new heart failure diagnoses, more hospitalizations for heart failure, and increased all-cause mortality over a 5-year window. That sounds alarming until you examine how melatonin use and non-use were defined and what crucial variables were missing.
The researchers pulled 5 years of electronic health records from more than 130,000 adults with chronic insomnia. People were counted as melatonin users only if their medical records documented at least 12 consecutive months of use. Everyone with insomnia but no charted melatonin was labeled a non-user. Right away, that approach folds together countries where melatonin is prescription only and places like the United States where most people buy it over the counter, meaning many actual users were automatically placed in the non-user group.
When you look at outcomes, the recorded use group showed roughly a 90% higher rate of new heart failure diagnoses than the charted non-users. And a secondary analysis suggested about a 3.5-fold higher chance of hospitalization for heart failure. But here's the catch. By definition, the recorded use group skews toward people who interact with the medical system more often, take more medications, and have more complex conditions. Hardly the same profile as someone who occasionally grabs an over-the-counter bottle at the pharmacy.
The team tried a stricter definition, at least 2 prescriptions written 90 days apart, and still saw an elevated risk signal. But that doesn't fix the core problem. Dosing and timing were unknown. Insomnia severity wasn't measured, and common confounders like depression, anxiety, alcohol intake, shift work, and the use of other sleep-promoting drugs weren't accounted for. Without these details, you can't determine whether melatonin itself, the underlying insomnia, other medications, or broader health factors drove the outcomes.
Another wrinkle comes from how hospitals code admissions. Heart failure-related codes can capture a wide array of heart failure-like entries and exacerbate counts beyond true incident cases. If hospitalization coding inflates events, then the 3.5-fold figure may reflect administrative practice more than physiology. When you're trying to decide whether a supplement is safe for you, blurred categories make firm conclusions impossible.
Media coverage compounded the confusion. The announcement was a conference abstract, not a peer-reviewed paper, yet headlines treated it like definitive proof of harm. That disconnect matters. Preliminary abstracts are early conversations. They're not settled science. Treating them as final answers leaves you with guidance that can be more fear-driven than fact-driven.
Context from decades of research also matters. Peer-reviewed studies repeatedly show cardioprotective effects of melatonin, reductions in blood pressure, improved endothelial function, protection of heart tissue after ischemic injury, and mitigation of oxidative damage and inflammation. If melatonin were broadly harmful to your heart, that pattern would appear consistently in the literature. Instead, the opposite is true.
So, what should you do with this? The takeaway is not to panic about supplementation, but to acknowledge the limitations of the dataset and the way users were identified. The most reasonable conclusion is that the study compared a medically complex, documented cohort with a mislabeled group that included many real melatonin consumers. That design can't tell you whether melatonin causes harm.
There's another practical angle. Relying on a pill for sleep doesn't fix the root problem if your body clock is off. You produce melatonin internally, and you can strengthen that rhythm with daily habits that align with how your biology actually works. These are simple, actionable steps that support your own melatonin rather than replacing it.
Start outside in the morning. Early daylight, ideally within the first hour after waking, helps recalibrate your internal clock. 10 to 15 minutes of direct outdoor light signals your system to time nighttime melatonin accurately. Window glass blocks key wavelengths, so make it real sunlight whenever possible.
Keep a steady sleep-wake schedule. Going to bed and waking up at consistent times trains your rhythm. If you need to shift earlier, move bedtime in 15-minute increments every few days until you land on a schedule that lets you feel restored. Regularity is what stabilizes your nightly melatonin rise.
Tame evening light, 2 hours before bed. Dim indoor lighting, and minimize blue-heavy screens. If you must use devices, switch on night modes, or use blue-blocking glasses. Bright, cool light in the evening tells your brain it's daytime and suppresses melatonin, so shaping your light environment is one of the most powerful levers you control.
Align meals with daylight. Aim to finish dinner at least 3 hours before you sleep. Irregular, late eating can disturb your circadian rhythm and blunt your natural melatonin surge. Keeping your main meals earlier helps your clock keep steady time.
Manage stress with intention. Your stress response and circadian system are linked. Practices such as breathwork, meditation, yoga, or other mindful techniques can reduce the friction that keeps you wired at night. When your nervous system downshifts, your nightly melatonin timing has a clear runway.
Supporting your natural production doesn't mean supplementation is inherently risky. It means you address the cause of sleeplessness rather than just the symptom. Given the preliminary and confounded nature of the study, it's reasonable to focus first on circadian repair. If you choose to supplement, understand that dose and timing matter, details notably absent from the dataset that drove the headlines.
Let's bring this home. You're not at the mercy of an abstract or a news cycle. You can create conditions that support strong, predictable melatonin each night. Morning light, consistent timing, darker evenings, earlier meals, and stress reduction. Those routines move you toward better sleep and healthier cardiovascular signals without depending on incomplete research or exaggerated interpretations.
Here's your challenge for today. Pick 2 circadian actions and implement them for the next 7 nights. Get 10 to 15 minutes of outdoor morning light within an hour of waking, and end all screens and bright lights 2 hours before bed. Track how quickly you fall asleep and how rested you feel upon waking.
Thank you for watching Dr. Mercola's Cellular Wisdom. We'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe now and click the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.